Our topic of discussion, relationships, the longevity of relationships, what it takes to have a long relationship and or marriage. And we'll talk about the difference between the two. Now, in an earlier segment, we had a wonderful couple with us, Joe and Marguerite Jones, who have been married for 43 years and been together for 45 years. And we talked about some of the things that brought them together and that kept them together and what they had to work on for continuous romance, continuous being able to be with each other, and no one getting mad and just walking away. And I'm going to tell you a little, they had to like each other. That was one of the things that came out. Trust, compatibility, sharing, even sharing the chores. It's no, that's woman's work or that's man work. They do things together and have done that. That's how they've been able to stay together for so long. They're a success story, and the reason being is communication is the key. The ability to communicate with each other, whether it's good times or controversial times. And of course, having patience with each other. Now, that was them. And they've lived this life and are living this life. At this time, I would like to introduce our relationship specialist. And this is Dr. Wendy Dearborne. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, Lillian, so much for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
It's truly an honor to be here.
Oh,
really
you are so sweet. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's talk about relationships. I mean, ooh, she says. Okay. No, let me get one thing straight. What's the difference between a relationship and a marriage?
The difference between a relationship and being married, for me, as a choice expert, and especially, it is all about commitment.
Gotcha.
What is it that you are truly prepared to commit to the relationship? Many people, they'll get into a relationship.
Correct.
And it's all nice, you know, them endorphins and caffeines running high, you know, ooh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. But when all of that, when all of that subsides, and
what's
it does
left?
Chemically, it's what's left. Now, when you have a marriage and you are married, the commitment states that you have to work with what's left.
Okay.
And so the true difference really is commitment. It's commitment.
So how does one go from all of that happiness and endorphins and some of the pitfalls? What's the key in there?
As the couple who were here before, it truly is about communication. In addition to that, I would say for both, it's Joe and who?
Marguerite.
Joe and Marguerite. I would say individually they know themselves.
Okay.
If you're having trouble with yourself, it makes it very difficult for you to commit to even a relationship, but to a marriage.
Now, in the communication, this is one thing we didn't bring up with our couple, but I know that they have this because I know them personally, is that very, very special word of respect.
Oh, yes.
Because our young people today, unfortunately, the first thing comes out of their mouth is what comes out of their mouth. And words hurt.
They do. Actually, you say that, and I'm going to digress just slightly here. You say this. I talk to the women at Shade Tree once a week.
All right.
And I did this whole thing about words, and I sort of said to them, you know, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Words can tear your soul apart.
Absolutely.
And once you've spoken
you can't
word,
take it back.
you cannot put it back. But as you were saying, respect is huge. And not only of each other, but of yourself. Okay. If you don't have that innate respect, that innate love, the kindness, the ability to share for you, you're not going to be able to do it for anybody else. You have to know how to do it for you.
What should we watch out for?
In a relationship?
In a marriage. Let's go with marriage.
What you should watch out for is taking each other for granted.
There you go.
And not expressing yourself. Because I heard Marguerite say, she's the more vocal one. I did hear that.
Yes, she's still in our studio audience, so that's why she looked over there. She is the more vocal one. Yes.
And it's about being able to express yourself. If you're not able to express what your needs, your wants are, and it's the little it's not the big things. Usually the big things get sorted out. Okay. But it's the little things like, baby, why you always leave the cup on the spoon on the counter?
Right.
You know, and 20 years later...
You're stirring your coffee, you leave a little coffee round on the counter. Why do you do that?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's the little things. Okay. Because my thing is, if people don't know what's going on for you, they can't make the changes. They can't implement change. Okay. It's also how you put this across. Respect, as you said before, Lillian, is huge. Right. You also need to know...
And Marguerite brought that up as well.
Yes.
And how you speak to each other.
And you also have to pick timing. Okay. You know, somebody gets home from work, they're tired.
Don't jump on me when I walk through that door.
Don't talk about, honey, you left the coffee grind on the counter with the spoon.
Right.
Don't do that.
Really right now? Really?
They're not going to hear.
Right.
Listening is huge. Being able to listen.
And that's one thing Joe is an excellent listener. And let's talk a little bit about the couple you know. 72 years of marriage.
Dave and Ellen. Dave passed away a couple of years ago, but they had been married 72 years.
Their children were senior citizens.
They got grandkids.
Yeah.
They got grown grandkids at that, great-grandkids.
Yeah.
So they've been married for 72 years.
Oh, mercy.
So as I said to them, you know, what is the key? Okay. What is the key? And they said they have never, in all their 72 years of marriage, gone to bed angry with each other.
And you know, my first set of foster parents when I was very little, and this is what instilled all the love and everything that I have, because this is who put ingrained at that time. And they never yelled at each other. They never called each other out of their name. I can't remember. I remember one disagreement, and Mother chased Daddy around the house with a half a bucket of water to pour water on him because he said something she didn't like. And they ended up laughing about it. I mean, but there was no talking, you know, but they were very ingrained in the church. So they're, you know, they had that innate respect that you get, you know, being spiritually motivated. But
and that's another thing.
Yes.
Having that spiritual foundation.
Okay.
And for me, it doesn't matter whether you're Christian, Buddhist, but it matters not. It's having that foundation. Because when there's nothing else left to go to, you can go to that square. Right. You can go to that foundational font of spirituality and draw from that well. Right. And that too is very important.
Now, how do you handle someone who is very strong-willed, strong-minded, ultimately intelligent, all of those things, and they can't find that partner that is of equal? How does one do that? Because there's a whole lot of people out there that have been separated, divorced for various reasons, and a lot of it, actually, I probably answered my own question, because a lot of it is lack of communication, because you can't talk to that person. Right, okay.
Okay, all right. I think, Lillian, the biggest question to ask is yourself in a relationship, what am I wanting? Not what do I want? What am I wanting? I-N-G. The ing takes you inside into the imagination.
I like that. Okay.
So you ask yourself, what am I wanting? And you have to be, when you ask that question of self, you have to be totally honest. Totally honest. What am I wanting? Once you have what you're wanting, then you can start with, what does it look like? What does it sound like? Or what does he look like? What does it sound like? What does he smell like? What does he taste like? What does he feel like?
Right.
And you have to ask yourself those questions with total honesty.
Okay.
And once you start answering those questions, you will be able to then
because they could be the little things like, I don't like the way your toes look when you wake up in the morning. I mean, something just as stupid as that can cause you to be gone. Right.
Exactly. Very, very important. Very
okay.
Very important.
Where can we reach you, Dr. Wendy? Because I'm sure there's some people out there that want to know a little more about what we talked about. We should actually probably do an hour on this one, but you know? Yes.
They can reach me at area code 702-425-8589. So 425-8589.
That's Dr. Wendy Dearborne, and we're continuing our discussion on relationships. And we were talking about the secret to longevity in a marriage. And hopefully by watching both of these segments, you've got something out of it. You can always reach Dr. Wendy at 702-425-8589. This is the Lillian McMorris Show, and we have had a ball with this one. But you stay tuned. We'll be back, and we'll talk to you next time.